Good day. Today we're going to cover the basic operation and setup of the GS3 2630 display when mounted in an S-Series John Deere combine. We prefer to operate with 3 separate home pages configured. At the moment we're looking at page 1, our combine main page is indicated in the top left hand corner. And this is what's going to give us all of our combine settings and basic setup of the combine. For those customers who are familiar with our 70 series, this portion of the page will look familiar. For those of you that are not familiar with it, a brief description of moisture in the top left hand corner, yield bushels to the acre in the right hand side. When the header or pickup is in the raised position and recording is off, it's going to be giving us our average of both throughout the field, and when the pickup or header is down and recording is taking place, we're going to be receiving or having displayed rather yield and moisture given to you live as it's actually happening while harvesting. This is indicating our crop type that we are configured for, rotor speed, concave clearance, fan, top chaffer, bottom sieve, and with the type of deluxe chaff spreader that we have on here, we can read chaff spreader speed. Bottom right hand quarter, this will be recording. This icon will be flashing when recording is taking place, when the pickup and header are down and we are operating in the field. This is under letter F, so at any point in time when we are on page 1, if we get lost within the display itself, letter F, the combine, will take us back to the combine main page. Letter G, picture of a head of wheat, takes us into some combine harvesting information. So now we're looking at letter G here. This would be our minimum and maximum and give us our field average of bushels to the acre. We have the wet box checked, and this is the preferred method for us to gather information, is to have that box checked. It takes into account the moisture of the grain when harvesting when doing a yield calculation, so we prefer to have that box checked. Next line down is going to be our minimum, maximum, and field average of moisture, and the bottom line is the header width, or the width of the swath that we were picking up, and this information is set up in the Greenstar 2 Pro as indicated, and it's also the information used to calculate the acres that we're combining, so it's important this information be entered in. Back to letter F. Below that now is letter H and the setup icon. For those people who have other pieces of John Deere equipment will recognize this arrow pointing upwards at a dot as kind of a universal sign for setup. Push that letter. It takes us into the setup page for automatic combine adjust. And within that page, a number of other icons have also become visible now. So the crop type that it is currently on is for spring wheat, and when we switch between crop types, it always brings us to a default page. And within default, we open the drop down menu up, we've got other options. We've got a clean out, we've got the options to save up to 5 custom settings, and another option here at new to be able to add another custom setting. No, it's 5 settings per crop type. What we've got indicated in black is how the combine is currently adjusted, what the settings are actually reading right at the moment, and the numbers that are grayed out. This is the default settings, the set point of which the combine is recommended to be operating at, or a starting point for default for spring wheat. In order to get the combine to auto adjust, we just need to have the separator running, engine at wide open throttle, and we'll now notice down in the bottom left hand corner the word auto is no longer grayed out. So to get the combine to change, we just select auto. It goes back to the combine main page, and as long as the numbers are flashing, That is indicating that adjustments are taking place, at which point in time when they stop flashing, the combine has reached that set point. We go back into the setup page, we'll open up the default menu, and we can select the word new. So for instance, if we've got custom settings that we have determined are going to work better in our situation than the default settings, and we would like to save them from this page, we'll now notice the boxes that were grayed out. We can now open them up and bring up this keypad. Just enter in a number of 14 and accept that. We'll just change the 1 for demonstration. So we've now got a 14 is our new setting that we would like saved for the top chaffer. Letter E, the arrow pointing to the right, that's always our enter or save key whenever we're doing a calibration of any sort. We're wanting to save some settings. So we're going to push letter E. You'll notice it changes this to custom setting. So the combine is still set at 16, but in order to get it to change now, touch the word auto. And we've now come back to our new settings. At any point in time too, we can modify custom settings. You can come to this page and touch on any one of these boxes and enter in a new number, just remembering to save it. If a person is running the smaller touch screen in the combines, letter H would be the page that we would come to and have the option of selecting and switching our crop types. In the case of running the GS3 2630, we have to have documentation operational, and that is done elsewhere. What is common between the two types of displays used in these combines though is our grain loss calibration. Now, seed size is automatically populated based on the crop that we have chosen, and it's just a matter of adjusting the combine, getting the combine loaded up and full, and then pushing the calibration button as we would have done in previous series of combines, and it's going to bring us up a value here, a calibration factor. Letter I is our moisture alarm. We have the choice of turning this on or off, setting in a minimum or maximum percentage over the moisture of the grain that we're harvesting, which we want the alarm to go off. We want to run this with the moisture correction, and this is where we can enter in our moisture correction offset. So in the case of we were harvesting and the moisture meter was indicating 15 in the combine, and when we tested it at the elevator or at our tester at home on the farm, and it for instance indicated that it was 14, so this combine is reading 1.2 high. We open up this box, enter in a 1 and a minus sign, and accept it. And now when we go back to harvesting, instead of reading 15 with a moisture correction of -1, it'll read 14. Now this moisture correction, this has to be zeroed out when we're starting different crops. This needs to be calibrated every crop and variety, and we also suggest that you do it every season as well. Below that, letter J brings up Harvest Smart. Currently in the off position. We turn it to Smart mode. We have the options of setting in the maximum harvesting speed, maximum engine power at which we would want the combine to work at, a response or sensitivity, and also again we have the option of calibrating grain loss from this point as well. The other mode that Harvest Smart has is in capacity, and again we've got maximum speed, engine power, and sensitivity that we can set, but now we also have a target pressure or rotor load that we can set as well, and again grain loss calibration. Although when running in capacity mode, grain loss calibration is not used. It operates the combine, the speed at which it'll harvest based off the other information. This is not the recommended mode to run Harvest Smart in. Letter A gives us our grain tank level. So what we can do on this page is when the grain tank level is full to the approximate level that we would consider full, touch letter D and save the point at which we call it 100% full. Now, where this can become useful is if you harvest in hilly terrain. You may want to record a lower grain tank level than on flat ground to avoid having grain spill over the side of the grain tank. We also have an unloading rate offset feature. Now, different crops, weights, and moisture can affect grain tank level sensor readings. Unloading rate offset value has a range of -1.5 up to +1.5. So we can decrease the offset value if grain remains in the tank when the grain tank level reads 0. We can increase the offset value if grain tank is emptied before the grain tank level reads 0. For more information on making this adjustment, refer to page 30-30 of your operator's manual. Letter B shows us our grain tank covers. Currently indicated to be in the open position. Engine does need to be running, and road transport does need to be turned off in order for this to operate. And all that's required when you want them to close, touch the screen, and as indicated, what position they will be going to. Letter C gives us a few different pieces of information, and this will vary depending on how your combine is equipped. This is telling us that the chopper is lowered. With the type of chopper on this combine, it's telling us that we are in chopping mode, but we would also have the option of touching the drop box and switching to dropping straw from the cab. This also has standard and advanced separator vanes that we can switch from the cab, and we also have the option of adjusting the spreader speed from this page as well. Touch letter F to go back to the main page. Below our setup key, letter I and the picture of a pickup. When we touch this, it tells us the type of platform front end attachment that we have in the combine. It tells us the hours that are currently on that on the head. We can dial in a minimum speed that we'd want the pickup or reels to turn at. We enter in the width of the swath that we are picking up. This is also where we record or set our record stop height. This is very important to be done, as recording and documentation will not happen without this properly set. That's under letter G. Under H is where we can turn on or off some of the automatic modes. We've got header height resume that's turned on, header height sensing. This is, we have Hydroflex, which currently we don't and cannot, is grayed out and cannot be turned on. Contour master that can be turned on and off. In the case of 635 or 640 header, a header equipped with the reel resume feature, we would have this icon turned on. And letter D is our dial speed for our reel or pickup belt to have speed matching. Below this, letter J brings up some engine information. So we're looking at engine and separator hours, and this is a picture of our isochronous governor. So this is something that's new to the S-Series combines, and when harvesting now, there's a smaller picture of this indicated in the corner post of the combine, and we would like to operate the combine at the top of the green or just slightly into the yellow, and that would indicate that we are operating the combine at its maximum capacity. Any higher and up into the red, we will see cleaning shoe speed slow down and of course risk the chance of plugging the combine. Now when the separator is engaged, we're going to see a much more consistent engine RPM with this type of governor. When more consistent engine RPM also means more consistent cleaning shoe speed. Below it, exhaust filter cleaning, we've got the option to disable it. If we feel that conditions, we are in an unsafe environment and would not want exhaust filter cleaning to take place, we have the option to disable it, although that's the only time that we would suggest choosing that option. Otherwise, we leave it in the auto position, and when you see a picture of this icon right here displayed in the corner post, that is indicating that exhaust filter cleaning is currently taking place. If we shut the combine off while this icon is illuminated, the controller will look at it as an aborted exhaust filter cleaning. If this happens a number of times, what may happen is a warning coming up on your 2630 display indicating that a parked regeneration is necessary. This is a parked regeneration icon here, currently grayed out, so nothing happens when we touch it. If that warning does come up, you will be instructed to come to this page, press this tab, and follow the on-screen prompts to do a parked exhaust filter cleaning. Other two letters that come up on this page, letter A is just for our radio, and letter B, very important, gives us our calibration, so we can calibrate our threshing clearance. This is where our yield is calibrated at. If we want to recheck chaffer and or sieve, but also it's very important if we're installing different headers on here, is doing our header calibration and feeder house raise speed. Letter J. This is important to remember if for some reason we ever have to tow the combine. To come to this icon, refer to your operator's manual and follow the instructions for towing should this be necessary. Page 2 gives us the option of setting up our client farm and field name, our tracking mode, setting a track and turning steering on and off. We've got a guidance map on top and our farm, field, and operation listed on the bottom. Crop type, when we touch this, brings up the option of being able to change harvest settings. We open this box up, it brings us to crop type. Open this up again, and now we have our different crops to choose from. We can select canola. Brand is optional. Anywhere that there's an asterisk is next to variety. We do need to choose or fill in that piece of information. Other boxes on this page are optional. We can now select that, enter that, push the home button. Canola is now displayed. We'll just go back to the first page now, the setup, and we can see that we are at the default settings for canola. Again, from this point, it's a matter of engaging the separator, wide open throttle, and touching letter D for the combine to automatically adjust. We'll now show you how to set up documentation. Press the menu button, select Greenstar 3, Greenstar 3 again. Select documentation. We accept this. Client, I've already pre-named as just test. The farm. Field name. And the task as harvest. Everywhere that there was an asterisk needed to be filled in. Crop season of 2013. Walks us through 4 different pages of information to be filled in. Type of pickup or header that we have on the combine. Our widths. And again, accept this information. By setting up documentation, which is required when using this display in the combine, this is now gives us the availability to change crop types from this page. This is how page 2 is configured. Page 3 would be a yield map. Now we'll show you how to set one of these up as pushing the menu button, selecting GS3, and mapping. Go to map settings, open the drop down menu up, select yield, accept this. If not already present on the left hand side, we depress this box on the side, bring up the bushels to the acre bar graph. From here, it gives us a choice of setting a range in on how our bar graph will be indicated. We'll just choose 20. Any yield less than 20 bushels to the acre will be indicated in purple. Anything over 70 will be indicated in green, and anything in between this respectively displayed. Accept this and select home. So we've got our yield map indicated from here. We've got the availability of shift track buttons and our load totals over on the side. Now load totals, we can also configure these by depressing this and choosing what piece of information we would like displayed throughout the 5 choices of information displayed along the side. And back to our main page. We'll now cover some of the other functions of the buttons in the command arm. We've got our check mark or accept button, so we can use our scroller wheel to navigate throughout the page if we did not want to touch the touch screen itself. We can use a scroller wheel to highlight letter G. We would push the check mark and it would take us to that page. We've also got the keypad displayed on the side, and these are like shortcut buttons that we can use. Remembering that letter F is just our combine main page, so we can use these as well for navigation. X is our cancel button. Anytime we have a drop down menu open, if we just want to close that back up, press X. Menu, pushing this is the same as pushing menu on the bottom right hand corner of your 2630 display. And again, picture the home, same as pushing the home button on the 2630 display. Also displayed are buttons on this armrest. Picture of a rabbit and turtle with the header. This performs multiple functions. If I press it once, it brings up manual raise lower speed. The second time is header height sensitivity. third is manual tilt speed and automatic tilt sensitivity. Now we can use the scroller wheel to make adjustments, or if we've got the combine running, it also can bring up a plus and minus sign to make changes to that. We've got our concave adjustment. This brings us up again on the, depressing it once brings us up on the 2630 display. Picture of the louvers. When I depress this once, it brings up our shoe chaffer position in segment 1, and segment 2 is the sieve. We're on the left hand side, picture of the header. Pressing it once is hydroflex pressure, and the second time is draper speed. Now, in adjusting draper speed, this only functions on John Deere straight cut headers. It will not work on other brands. Next icon is for our rotor speed, our fan, chaff spreader, and this is an option for our spreader offset. Let's show you what happens here. We push spreader width, we can set this at 100%. I depress that a second time, it gives us an offset. So we can dial in a number of 20 and it's going to give us an offset to the right hand side of the combine. When I push the spreader offset button, it switches it to the other side, so if we're harvesting in windy conditions with a crosswind, we can change the offset from one side of the combine to the other to help keep the chaff out of the unharvested portion of the field. Air conditioning controls, I've got it set on auto, and anytime we make any adjustments to the fan or the temperature, it is reflected on the display. We've got our lighting options, our beacon that we can have turned on when we're harvesting, so that when we reach 3/4 and full, that the beacon lights will flash. Turning the beacon on here is for road travel, so it's on all the time. Our hazard lights and our radio controls down here. Back on the main combine armrest, got more shortcut buttons. When we depress this, it's a shortcut button that brings us to the page for our grain tank cover folding. Above that is our road transport. Again, we just push this once so that it's illuminated, and now when road transport is on, all we can do is drive the combine. We cannot raise, lower, or engage any of the functions. Press it, hold it until the light comes off, and the combine is now back to normal operation. Our dial of speed and automatic header height control. This is our shortcut button for Harvest Smart. Our 3-position throttle. If we have ProDrive transmission, low and high range. And we also have differential lock with this as well. New to the hydro handle on S-Series combines is the addition of the auto steer button. So in previous series we would use buttons 2 or 3 to engage auto track. We now have a separate button for those people that wish to get the combine back on track and online before lowering, say, the straight header to resume cutting. For customers who still want to have this, use buttons 2 and 3 as we have in the past, there's a controller address that can be changed to make these function for the resume as well. Combines equipped with ProDrive, depressing this button while harvesting will bring the combine to a stop. It also will stop the front end or everything that is engaged on this switch. It will bring all of those moving components to a stop. It will stop the unloading auger from swinging in either direction and from operating as well. In the corner post, we've got the picture of the icon up here right now for our exhaust filter cleaning. This is our isochronous governor again that I mentioned that we want to run up the top of the green or just slightly into the yellow. Fuel, temperature, engine RPM, and speed. The number 2 indicated here is telling us that we are in range 2 of ProDrive. Other functions indicated here is our header height. I've pressed number 1 on the hydro handle as indicated here, and a bar graph along the side indicating the current height and the reference number for that height. And header height resume icon is turned on here, telling us it's active. Our contour master level indication here. Press button 2 on the hydro handle, and now we're operating off header height sensing, and again just the bar graph along the side and a reference height number here. Grain loss, very similar and to be displayed as before. We've got our tailings along the right hand side and our combined cleaning shoe and rotor losses here indicated in the center for grain loss. Changes to the S-Series Combine steering column and controls. We've now gone to what we would call automotive style controls for the wipers and park lights. We've now gone to what we would call automotive style controls on the S-Series Combine steering column, horn on the end, our lights on the very outside. Next into that is our wipers, turn signals, and high-low beam control. We still have the same telescopic feature as always, and we've got a dual adjust steering column. The coarse adjustment on the main pedal on the floor, and a lever over on the left hand side to fine tune. Once this is adjusted, we need only use the pedal on the floor to tilt the wheel ahead to exit the cab. Other items in this cab we can point out. This has the premium sound system in it. When we see this in our cab, this would be our Bluetooth microphone, our on-off switch for our heated mirrors, and the control for the remote mirrors. USB port for playing music. There is another USB port in the armrest on these combines. This is not for customer use. This is something that the technicians use if they need to load or update software on the combine. It can be done through there. For customers who are not going to be putting an activation on the 2630 in the combine, they do have the option of mounting another GPS display bracket and connecting it to the corner post connector if they have AutoTrack on that display. We're in the left hand side of the cab. We can pull this cover down, and this is where our recirculation filter is now located, as opposed to behind the seat in previous models. And the chrome latch just outside on the landing is the outside cab air filter. And my favorite feature, somewhere to keep a cold beverage after a long day at work. The Active Fridge. This concludes the navigation of the 2630 GS3 display in the S-Series Combine. Thanks very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.